one thing that I find quite fascinating, a little puzzling and kind of sad at the same time the more I think about it, because Brazil is a massive country, but if you ask anyone of what they actually know about Brazil, you'll most likely get the answer Rio de Janeiro, Copacabana Beach and the Amazon rainforest. And that's just like saying the USA only has New York City and the Grand Canyon. Brazil, believe it or not, has a total land area of 8.51 million square kilometers. And if we exclude the state of Alaska, then the USA, with all of its connecting states, has a land area of 8.08 million square kilometers. So apart from the city Rio de Janeiro and the Amazon forest, what actually does this massive country have that we don't know about? Let's start with what the country actually produces. First of all, oil. Brazil has the world's 15th largest oil reserves, estimated at just over 16 billion barrels, and is currently the 9th largest producer of oil, pumping out an estimated 3.2 million barrels per day. Secondly, Brazil is also the second largest producer of beef, with roughly 11 million metric tons produced annually. However, Brazil ranks as #1 worldwide in terms of export. Thirdly, we have coffee. Brazil is also the largest producer of coffee, producing just over 3 million metric tons of coffee a year, and is not surprisingly the largest exporter of coffee worldwide. Now, I could go on, of course, however, I don't want to lose your interest just yet. So I will quickly mention some other major commodities that Brazil produces, like sugar, iron ore, corn, soybeans, and believe it or not, aircrafts. Now, if you do fly regularly, especially in the USA or Europe, you most likely have flown on an aircraft manufactured right here in Brazil. When we think of aircraft manufacturers, we most likely only think of Boeing and Airbus, but there is a company that is called Embraer, and right after Boeing and Airbus, Embraer ranks as the 3rd largest producer of civil aircraft worldwide. And tourism is also growing at a fast pace here in Brazil. Apart from the famous city of Rio de Janeiro and the Amazon rainforest, there are thousands of breathtaking places to visit here. The Iguaçu Falls, the Pantanal, Lençóis Maranhenses, and with a coastline of 7.5 thousand kilometers, Brazil has endless amounts of beautiful beaches to choose from, and I believe that Brazil will continue to grow significantly within the tourism sector in the next decade, and that will also benefit hundreds of thousands of Brazilians financially also. So now that you realize that Brazil is so much more than just a famous beach and a carpet of trees, then why do Americans live in houses like these? Well, Brazilians live in houses like this. And why does the USA have roads like these while I have to drive on roads like this? Why on earth isn't Brazil the most developed country on earth, with highly educated people living the Brazilian dream? Why do we still have over 60 million Brazilians living in poverty, with 12 million of those living in extreme poverty, earning less than $40 a month? Now, obviously, there are some Brazilians who are making much more than they deserve. And of course, the difference between those who have and those who don't is just extreme here in Brazil. Now, I myself have been living here in Brazil for just over 18 years now, and I've seen 5 presidents come and go during this time. And presidential elections can be a time for hope, a hope of a better future, but unfortunately, words are hardly put into action here. And during my time living here in Brazil, little or basically nothing has ever changed. Presidential elections are held every 4 years here, and in between we have the municipal elections, where we elect our new mayor for our city, and this is currently ongoing as I'm recording this video. Now, I'm going to say it right out, the municipal elections here, especially in the small town where I live, is the most absurd and downright strangest event that takes place every 4 years. It's downright corruption to its core, and if you don't have cash to spend, or if you don't know someone who knows someone who then knows someone, then you are doomed to fail, even if you are an honest politician with years of experience. Basically, anyone can run for mayor here, but here in Brazil, it's all about what you can give the people today that really counts, and not the hope of a better future. Voters are literally bought with cash, and larger companies are promised huge benefits if they agree to support the candidate. Large parties are held daily throughout the city, and the people hardly care who is paying for it all, but with free food and free alcohol, the votes are gradually secured from the lowest and middle classes. Now, a few days ago, when I was heading home after a surf session in the evening, and on the road home I came across a political event here where they had actually closed the entire road. The only road that leads to the city was closed with hundreds of people and cars in the streets shouting out the slogan of their candidate, and a truck with a massive sound system blasting out music and propaganda. Of course, this was all paid by the candidate, but the fact that I had to wait for hours before I managed to head home just made me furious. It was impossible to pass, and I had to wait alongside the road until the event eventually ended, and in the meantime, listening to all of this political propaganda, promises and lies. Also, we have a lot of these people standing along the road all day long, waving the flag of their candidate, where they receive a minimum salary after a month. It's quite remarkable, as I can't see how this is effective at all. Most of these people who carry a flag don't seem at least interested in supporting their candidate, however, spend most of their time on the phone talking with each other, just for a small sum of cash in their pocket at the end of the campaign. Now, wouldn't it be a lot better to utilize this money to better some of the roads, maybe some better equipment for the hospitals, or to some of the local schools? Another thing that I find extremely bizarre is the way that the people here, how they treat their candidates, like their favorite candidate, the candidate that they're gonna vote for. They treat them almost like superstars. I mean, you see people, they decorate their houses, they decorate their car. I mean, they put up stickers of their candidate all over their car. They ride around with a flag of their candidate, and it's just remarkable. They treat their candidates like superstars, and a lot of these people, they even spend a ton of money doing all of this shit. And it's absolutely remarkable, because in the end, even if their candidate will win, there's a 90% chance that that candidate is going to be corrupt to the core and is going to rob us of you know, all of our paid taxes, and they're just not going to give anything back. So these guys, the population, you know, they're treating these like godly superstars, and in the end, all they get in return is just, you know, they steal their money, and you know, nothing gets done. You know, the city will just continue to be without infrastructure, with poor healthcare and poor education, schools lacking funding. I mean, it's just it's just remarkable. I think it's just absolutely bizarre, and it's just I don't know. I guess it's one of those cultural things again where I'm from in Norway, but it's just totally different. And there's another thing as well, as you can see, this is one of the main roads leading into the city of Paracuru. And as you can see in the middle lane here, the divider of the lanes, you can see all the flags of the different candidates, and it's quite remarkable because there's got to be at least 100,000 flags lining this. All of these flags, they continue all the way for kilometers, all the way into the city center. As a result, there's been a lot of accidents, like pretty ugly accidents. There was recently this car who made a U-turn, and because of all of these flags, you cannot see the people coming from the other side. It creates like a total blind spot, and this car was doing a U-turn, and this other lady was coming from the other direction on a motorbike with a small child on the back of the motorcycle, and hit the car, and luckily they didn't suffer any major injuries. It's just remarkable how they allow this to go on, and it just blows my mind how things are done here. But this is Brazil, and you know, every 4 years it's the same circus, it's the same story, and it's just totally bizarre. But yeah, that's how it is here. This is where the inequality takes place, because it's the people with power, being money, that can basically do whatever they want with the poorly educated, who only ask for the basic necessities in exchange for votes. After the election is over, they are left fending for themselves yet again, and the mayor can basically start paying back the expensive loans obtained to pay for the campaign, and leaving nothing, basically nothing, to pay for necessities such as education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Instead, they can pocket a high salary from taxpayers, and of course, any surplus of tax income that is easy to hide from the public records. It's corruption, plain and simple. Now, it has to be said that I am by far no expert at how everything works in practice, and I'm pretty sure that the average Brazilian also has no clue on what exactly goes on behind closed doors in politics here. But you might ask yourself where all of the money comes from when one decides to run for mayor. And after doing some research and simply asking around, I managed to dig up some ugly facts about how these campaigns are financed. Now, in the city where I currently live, the most popular candidate right now is actually the sister of the current mayor in the neighboring town. So I'm 99% sure that the taxpayers of that town are now financing the campaign for the potential candidate of our upcoming mayor, which is absolutely bizarre when you think about it, because imagine finding out that your taxes that you're paying are being used to pay for a campaign in a totally different town that has no connections to the town where you actually live. But how is this possible? Of course, this is illegal practice, but when you dig deeper, you find out how people can get away with such practices, because any municipal can ask the Federal Economic Bank of Brazil for any loans to build, let's say, a new hospital, new roads, schools, or basically anything that the municipal deems necessary. And when these loans are granted, the municipal or mayor can then easily contract any company to realize the project, and simply ask the company to invoice the state double or triple of what the project actually will cost. Of course, the companies who are involved in this corruption scheme will get a piece of the cake, just to stay quiet. But basically, this is how corruption works in its simplest form. And also, one way for the politicians to pay for their campaigns and stay in power. Also, it is common for other corrupt politicians to support upcoming mayors by grouping together and financing the campaigns to secure the power of themselves and everyone else in the future. Now, just last week, another corruption scandal hit the news here, and this was from a member of the opposing party, in which our current mayor is also a member. Now, right in front of me, which I'm going to show you in just a sec, is one of the oldest hotels here in the city of Paracuru. It's actually quite a popular hotel, for the reason being that it actually has a water park inside. Especially on Sundays, every Sunday they put on a show. They got a live band playing. All the families with small children, they gather here each Sunday, where they enjoy the water park and live music, and it's actually a very popular place. Now, the hotel is old. I mean, the standard is quite low, but then again, it's quite cheap to stay here. But I'm going to show you the hotel right now. So this is actually the hotel. The main entrance is right here, and then you have the parking, and the entrance to the water park is right into that gate right there. Now I'm going to tell you what's happened to the owner of this hotel. So one thing that is just a little suspicious is that the owner of this hotel is also the head of the Secretary of Tourism here in the city of Paracuru. And just a week ago, he was actually arrested just about an hour's drive south of the city here, in a hotel, in the reception of the hotel. The federal police, they stormed the reception, arrested the owner of this hotel right here. What they found is in his bag he had roughly 150,000 reais in cash, in just loose cash. And what they're saying on the news is obviously that this cash here is going to be used to buy votes for the upcoming election, and it's basically just another mean to secure his place for the next 4 years as the head of Secretary of Tourism here in the city of Paracuru. Now, obviously, being the head of Secretary of Tourism and also owning a hotel is well, quite, there are a lot of advantages with that. And as for me personally, I know the owner very well. I've been to his office several times because in order to run my bed and breakfast, of course, I need a lot of licenses, and I need to pay annual taxes to the Ministry or Secretary of Tourism just to be able to run my bed and breakfast. And of course, it's just another load of bureaucracy here in Brazil, a lot of unnecessary licenses, but it's just how it is. Brazil is just, it's known for its bureaucracy and just a bucket list of different taxes and licenses that you need to pay, and it's just another means of the government getting money. Now, obviously, as for the owner of this hotel, you know, he can basically do whatever he wants. He has all the power, and what I think is really, I've always had a suspicion, because his hotel is really very old. He doesn't have a lot of good reviews on his website, on booking.com, Expedia, those search engines online. His hotel has rather very poor reviews, and even from the locals, Brazilians. And the reviews are directed at just maintenance and lack of cleanliness, just a low standard in general. With the water park, I'm suspecting that the water park is keeping all of his, you know, his entire hotel afloat, because you know, his hotel it's not really up to par with the standard that of other hotels that you find here in the city. So it kind of makes you wonder where all the money comes from, and how he's managing just to stay in business. Because for me, as myself, I run a bed and breakfast. It's a small bed and breakfast with only 10 rooms. And I already know the cost of running a place like that, and is actually a lot more than people think, because there are a lot of maintenance and just a lot of fees and tax that you need to pay. So I'm rather suspicious of how he's keeping his business afloat. But anyways, it just goes to show in these times, you know, with the elections, these things pop up, you know. And this guy, he is famous in the city here of Paracuru, and it kind of came to a shock to all of us. And of course now, you know, the party that he's voting for, of course he's gonna lose a lot of votes, and they're probably gonna lose the entire election. And of course he's not gonna be the next head of Secretary of Tourism here in the city. So I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. And also he's facing up to 10 years imprisonment because of this money laundering scheme that he's tried to pull off. So so there you have it. I mean, the elections here in Brazil, it's more a circus than anything else. It's all about power, it's all about money, and the people who suffer in the long run is the population, because nothing ever gets done here. All I can say now is that all of these candidates who are trying to get elected here, they've spent millions and millions on stupid crap like buying votes and, you know, just parties and stuff that doesn't really help the city or the population at all. And a lot of this money here is loan and needs to be paid back with interest. So there you have it. It's the vicious circle that never ends, and we spend a ton of money on stupid shit like this, and nothing will ever improve, nothing will ever get done. So there you have it. It's sad, but it's reality here in Brazil. Anyways, I'm gonna get back on my bike and pedal back to the bed and breakfast again. There's the entrance to the park. You can see it's all empty today. It's actually Friday. There should be people here. I suspect because of his arrest, I suspect that everything is closed currently for investigation, because obviously with these money laundering schemes, you know, they're gonna turn every stone and try to find everything. There you can see the name of the guy, and he's currently in jail. So let's head back up to the dunes. Now, it is simply an ongoing vicious circle of corruption that will probably never end. It is always the taxpayers and always the people in the lowest social classes who suffer and who are never given the possibility of a better life, neither for them or their children. And this vicious circle will just continue due to the fact that the poorly educated people are always easy to manipulate, and without the poor, the candidates would have a hard time hiding these disgusting practices. So what about the educated and the rich? Who do they actually vote for? Well, surprisingly, a lot of the wealthier population may also vote for these corrupt politicians. As you can imagine, a lot of successful businesses may have reached their success due to corruption. On the other hand, there are honest and educated citizens that might simply vote for the better of the two evils, meaning that the candidates who are truly honest and truly want what is best for the city will never have a chance. So the voters simply choose to vote for the least corrupt candidate who actually has a chance of winning the campaign. So in the end, Brazil just has a long way to go before we see any potential change. Now, I personally believe that corruption is simply a disease that Brazil needs to find a permanent cure for before we even have a chance of seeing any change for the better at all. But personally, I love Brazil and I have no desire of leaving. But that being said, I am extremely lucky to have had a proper education, a good job that has paid for everything that I own today, building my own business from scratch and working tirelessly every single day for years to make it successful. I've had all of the proper tools for building this success handed down to me from a government in a country that is Norway, where I was born, and that government has been ranked as the 6th least corrupt government worldwide. Now, despite all of the negatives, Brazil is a wonderful country to live in. It's actually just down to what lifestyle that you desire to live. There is so much beauty here, and with a climate that lets you enjoy the outdoors basically all year round, the possibilities are endless. It's all up to what's more important to you. Basically, Brazil is certainly not for everyone, but I highly recommend that you at least visit Brazil once in your lifetime, as I'm sure you will not regret it. But anyways, that's all from me this time. As always, if you enjoyed this video, then please give me a thumbs up. And of course, consider subscribing to my channel for more content in the future. Until the next time, guys, stay safe. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.